Very good morning, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome on board your Air Transat Flight 233 with service from Punta Cana back to Toronto. As you leave behind this tropical paradise, of course, you have nothing to look forward to back in Toronto except for, well, some warm weather mixed with economic hardship, social distancing, and a good old 14-day quarantine. Welcome on board. Wouldn't that be hilarious if that was the kind of PA you get these days? But that pretty much is the travel experience these days. I don't blame people for not wanting to travel at this point, especially international travel. Crossing borders is just a real pain in the butt lately. But nevertheless, we're going to have some fun doing some traveling, international traveling, crossing some borders, and not having to worry about the 14-day quarantine because we're doing it here online on Twitch with Prepared and our good old 737 NGXu that you can see in front of us here. So, hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. I hope you guys are all doing well. Hope everyone is staying healthy, and yeah. We've got yet another good leg here. This one is going to be a pretty long leg as well. It's about a 4-hour flight, I believe, from Punta Cana back to Toronto, where we will then resume the rest of our monthly schedule, which is not all that much at the end of the day now. Now we are basically ending with a Orlando turn, and that will pretty much be the end of it, I believe. And then we'll have to work out a new monthly schedule. It could be a bit of a not a pain, but I'm a little bit picky about the schedule, mostly because I want to try and hit up airports that I already have in my library rather than trying to go out and find new ones. So it takes me a little while to generate a schedule that I'm happy with, that I think has a good mix of maybe a couple of new airports, but mostly some airports that I'm used to from previous times. So anyways, that's what we're doing. I should return this leg, this back to the current flight page, because if I do that, it will start automatically, assuming I've selected an aircraft, which I haven't yet. I did a little bit of tiny bit of the setup for this last night, so I actually selected the aircraft last night and created my flight plan, and now we've got this in here. It should automatically start up as soon as we start our engines here. So we're sitting here at the beautiful airport in Punta Cana, as done by Tropical Sim. It's a very beautiful airport, typical of the Caribbean environment, nice, very tropical area. If you look the other way here, if I can get to the other side here. Oh, there's another plane here. It's going to be a busy day, I guess, on the VATSIM network. It's a Saturday. But this side of the airport is kind of a bit more traditional with thatched roofing. There is a second terminal over there that is a bit more of a traditional airline-style terminal, just some concrete walls. But again, you got the nice thatched roofing. I remember that this was a very beautiful airport to visit on the inside. It was it put you in the tropical mood as soon as you walked into the airport. You were already vacationing just being in the airport. So, anyways, yeah, without further ado, we're going to hop in because we got a 4-hour flight ahead of us. We're going to get this flight started, but it does look like we do have company here. We've got a Gulf flight, and I believe there's also a United flight that's going to be landing here in Punta Cana shortly, according to VATSPY. I don't see it at the airport yet, just scrolling around. Of course, the other thing you can do is you can cheat, and you can just ask the sim, hey, where's that traffic? And there we go. And he is on final anyways for the airport there, so we'll see him pull up to us very soon, no doubt. So it's going to be a busy little airport today. So before we do anything else, of course, we've got to get in the flight deck and get started here, and of course set up my track IR properly. Let's get some power to this airplane first of all before we do anything else. We're going to need battery power. Ground power is already hooked up, so we can go ahead and flick that on. Start our IRSs aligning, and then the tricky thing, always looking up in this corner here to check the flight director. And the overspeed warnings. Other than that, we don't need too much else from this airplane. Just got the emergency lights on right now. We'll get the packs on. We'll get those windshield heats on as well, so they are warming up. Not that it should take very long in this tropical environment for them to warm up. But there we go, and everything should start powering up. The FMSs are online. I guess we can also make sure we do grab that parking brake. And I may even, just right off the bat here, tune in Unicom, because there's actually stuff happening here, so we can actually listen to the radio a little tiny bit while we're getting ready. If I can manage to tune this. Come on. Being a bit of a pain there. There we go. And yes, as always, for some reason, and I don't understand why, but my gear always cycles up as soon as it detects my my control quadrant. I don't know why. I still haven't figured that out. It didn't used to do that in the sim. It does it now. There we go. So we are going to fly this flight as always with a little bit of the FS2 crew action here. Just move this down to where you guys can see it. Mute this guy because he listens to every word I say, and he tries to translate every word I say into some kind of command. And let's start off with just a quick little pre-flight FS2 crew setup here. And what I am going to do actually before I do anything else is we're going to get this guy started. Alright, so let's do this. Let's do departure. So we are going to be at a stand with a pushback. We don't need the transponder on. Let's do derated thrust, flap 5. We'll see if that works. No E-tops, bleeds on, no anti-ice required. Takeoff safety. We'll say same crew, see if that reduces the time a little bit. Forced return, we'll say underweight. Departure procedure SID. And noise abatement not required, no concerns. Perfect. Alright, and yeah, let's get this guy started because I want to get out of here. So we get a 25-minute turn here. Ready?
Okay, let's get this show on the road.
And he's getting the show on the road for us, and I'm just killing my secondary volume there. Alright, so he's getting ready. We're going to go ahead and call on some FS2 crew here, or I mean some GSX as well.
For the walk around.
Thank you. We're going to say we brought the catering with us the last time we flew, but we're going to need some fueling. This baggage guys backed right into the sign. We're going to be fired for sure. Oh, Lord. Okay. One thing, I just got to set up here. Make sure that we're ready. Okay. Yeah. So we've got our FS2 crew. He's going to go to the walk around. We're going to start getting set up. We've got the GSX. The fuel truck is on its way. That United airplane should have landed by now. The Gull plane is already pushed back behind us, and the United plane's taxiing in. Busy little airport. Okay, so let's get started here. Right into the FMC, if I can. Let's just pull this up here. You know what I'm going to do just for fun? We're just going to sit out here and watch the planes go by while we set up. Going to move this over to the opposite corner if it'll move. Thank you. Get this turned on. Please use your aircraft fueling system to refuel. Thank you. Alright, so I'm going to bring up the FMS. As always, using the AviaWorks FMS. It's such a useful tool. FS actions. So today we are, of course, planned to Toronto with our usual sim brief flight plan. We're looking for 15.3. We're just going to say round it up to 16,000 kilos of fuel. There we go. And he's going to start fueling. And while I'm on this page, I'm also going to set up my payload, which was estimated by SimBrief at 166. So I'm going to distribute it. We'll put 160 in the back and 60 up front because it just keeps the math easy for me. Oh no, this airplane doesn't take 166. Okay. Well then, I guess we're just taking a full bus. Too many people showed up at the gate, and we filled every seat on the airplane. And the cargo will leave it as it is. Alright, and so we can start getting set up here. Position init. We can go to page 2 to get our GPS coordinates. Back and set that in there. So now the IRS is aligning and setting up our flight plan. MDPC all the way back to CYYZ. And the flight number is Transat 233. Okay. And so we're going to depart here. So we don't have any ATC online here currently, unfortunately, so we'll just have to work with what we've got here, but we will see what the weather's doing here. They landed to the east. We've got we got winds out of 100 at 12. They got a decent easterly wind, so we're going to go ahead and do departure off of runway 09. Alright, and of course we need our flight plan as always, so give me 1 second. Let me pull that over here. Pixar 2 Tango off of runway 09. That should take us as far as Pixar. Then we do a CEVO. I lost the United plane. I think he must have logged off right after he landed because I don't see him anymore out here. Unless he taxied by us at some point, but he must have logged off as soon as he landed. Pity. Anyways, there goes our other airplane right now. Where was I here? Okay, so after Pixar comes a CEVO. So there's a bit of a long flight plan. I could load it in. Like I said, I like to put them in as long as they're not too long because it gives me a little bit of a chance to interact with the route and learn the route a little bit. Now there's a couple of step climbs, so you may see some things like weird repeated airways and stuff like that in here maybe. Because we have a couple of step climbs in here today because we keep changing direction from generally east to generally west. Overall the flight is westbound, but we've got kind of an east-west switch at a couple different points, so we'll have to keep an eye out for that and decide for ourselves if it's worth doing the switch or not. If it's short periods of time, I find it's not worth the energy and effort expelled in climbing the airplane. There's only one in the northern hemisphere, so that ILM is the one we're going to go for. J109 to London, and then direct Leone, direct Wazi, so LDN, and then direct Leone. Really was not that big of a flight plan. It looked bigger than it actually was. Leone at north 39, west 78, that sounds right. And then direct to Wozy and the Ling to arrival into Toronto. 3-3 right, I highly doubt that. What we can do is we can use my Sim Toolkit Pro to my advantage here and say, what's the TAF say for Toronto? 330, around a 360, so probably more likely that we'll be on a 06 left. On the link to arrival, we can put the loopy transition and the Wozy transitions in there. And that's it, it's there, right up onto the perf init page. So from our flight plan here again, ditched my flight plan too soon, sorry. The estimated ZFW is going to be 59.2. Reserves today of...
Hi, security and safety check are complete. Can we start boarding now?
Go for it.
Thanks.
And it wants to board 160 passengers. So we should see a bus pull up hopefully. Here comes the baggage. The bus will pull up eventually here. And we'll get on with that. So, back to the flight plan here. So our alternate requires 1,400 kilos. Our final reserve of 1,000, almost 1,100 kilos. That comes up to 2,500. So 2.5 for our reserve fuel. Cost index today up here at the very top corner of 53. Flight plan initially, it says initially 330. I'm going to put 340. As soon as we turn westbound, that's going to be the direction we're heading. That's going to be the appropriate altitude as soon as we turn westbound. And the average wind for today of 288 at 37. So a little bit of a headwind, not excessive headwind.
From the walk around. Everything looks good.
Thank you. Alright, N1 limit. I'm going to just try a takeoff 2 and see if we can get off the ground. It's going to be hot here, that's the one problem. And when it's hot, planes don't like to climb. Center of gravity 29.6, and we're going to use 50, 51, and 54. It does look like a flap 5 takeoff 2 departure will work. That guy's almost at the runway. And our setup is just about done here, so our bus arrived. We're going to start loading people now. You can hear our FO is testing out a whole bunch of stuff. And you can see the fuel truck is done. He's leaving, and the baggage trains are here. The baggage loaders are all here. We're going to get this plane loaded up and ready to go, hopefully in the next 10 minutes or so. Alright, so we'll hop back in the flight deck for ourselves. And I'm just going to lock this on here for now, so I can see what he's doing. Actually, the one thing I do need to do as well is, of course, pull up my charts, which we can do on here. So use the airports from the FMS. That is the easiest thing to do. And edit our clip for departure today. So we need, let's see here, departures. No, that's arrivals, that's departures. RNAV departures, runway 09. Okay. So this is just like the arrivals where everything's on one page. So do we have a top altitude listed here? Yes, it looks like it. Climb to 5,000. And then for the Pixar, it doesn't have another altitude. So 5,000 is going to be our top altitude today. Our speed, V2 of 154. And our heading, oh, he wants me to open up the, they want to board passengers to the back door as well. Fine, you want to do that? You can do that. Open the left aft door. Let's see here, the runway heading here. Checklet, that's what I'm looking for. 097, so we're going to set 097 on the heading bug here, so we can take off in heading mode if we so desire. We should be able to take off in LNAV mode, so let's go ahead and get the flight directors up and on, auto thrust armed. I am going to arm the LNAV and the VNAV for this departure because it is an LNAV and RNAV departure. Let's get that altimeter setting as well. I did check the weather already. The altimeter is 1019, or the QNH is 1019, I should say. There it is. Looks like the FO has already set it for us. He just didn't set the right units. Get our traffic on. And our weather radar we'll grab later. Quick just control check. And 22.8, because we don't have any ATC right now, I'm just going to set a generic 2000 on the transponder, and we'll go from there. And I think we're just about already done our setup here, so we just need to make sure the FO's done his. He's got a lot of switches to flip. Once he's done flipping them all, we can get this show on the road. In the meantime, boarding is going on. This is the kind of time where I would like to see the GSX Level 2. I've only ever used the GSX Level 1. I do like the idea of GSX Level 2. The nice thing is it doesn't penalize too much during the low intensity, you know, like right now there's not a lot of processor usage going on during the setup for departure. So you could have a whole lot of intense animations with, there we go. You can have a whole lot of intense animations with people moving across the ramp, and it doesn't impact the overall effect of the sim because they all disappear as soon as they get in the airplane. It's on my nice-to-have list. It's not, again. But I thought the same thing about the original GSX. I didn't think it was something I was going to want right off the bat. I thought it would be like a little, I don't know, kitschy perhaps, but it turned out to be something really useful, just adds really the immersion factor. So, anywho. Since he's ready, our pre-flight checklist. Pre-flight checklist.
Pre-flight checklist. Oxygen.
Tested 100%.
Tested 100%. Navigation transfer and display switches. Normal, auto. Window heat, on. Pressurization mode selector, auto. Flight instruments.
Check. Heading 187. QNH 1019. Altimeter 1019.
Heading 187. Altimeter 1019. Parking brake.
Set.
Engine start levers.
Cut off.
Pre-flight checklist complete.
Are you ready for the departure briefing?
Yes.
Okay, so today we're going to be departing out of Punta Cana. Alright, so first of all, yeah, we're going to say it's a through flight, so we don't need to do the whole briefing again, but we're going to depart out of Punta Cana. Actually, what am I doing here? We'll pull it up on the charts here. We're at the Terminal A here. We're going to taxi out via Romeo 2, Romeo 1, or maybe Delta, and Echo Foxtrot to the threshold of runway 09. No big notes on there. The departure, the Pixar 2 Tango departure, off of runway 09. So this is just a little bit awkward sometimes to scroll around here. Can I do... No. One thing I had to do is I had to set up a view for this. Alright, initial climb. Climb on track 097 to Mayrog. Contact sent to Domingo Center 24-3 and climb to 5,000. There's no real notes on the plan. The transition altitude in this area is 17,000. And then for the Pixar 2 Tango, at Mayrog left turn track 002. So a hard left 002 to PC-101 left turn to Pixar. PC-101 Pixar. Just verify we got that in the box here. Mayrog PC-101 Pixar. And that's it. And it's 5,000 or below for PC-101, and then between 230 and 17,000 for Pixar, so it's got 230 set there anyway, so that works. And we got 5,000 for our top altitude. Terrain, there's a little bit of higher terrain to the west. To the east is nothing but ocean, so at 100 feet we clear the deck there easily. Weather is just a few clouds around, but nothing too substantial here. It looks like a nice day here at Punta Cana. Operational. Let's have a quick check of our NOTAMs, because it always behooves us to check the NOTAMs. NOTAM, Departure Airport. FBO terminal closed, GA terminal closed, the VOR is unserviceable, that's it. Nothing that affects our departure process. And no broken items on this airplane, no MELs, so I'd say we're good to go. Do you have any questions? Any questions?
No questions.
Alright, very good. Start the APU, please.
Starting APU.
It looks like they're done boarding already, which is great, so let's get this show on the road here. We'll cycle that up a couple minutes. And they're going to start doing cabin PAs and all that stuff. Thank you. Alright, so because he came up with the load sheet, what I'm going to do really quickly here is copy the actual ZFW here, so as loaded 60.6. What am I doing here? Yeah. ZFW, yeah, there it is. Ugh, I'm sorry, I'm just lost for a second there and I don't know why. 60.6. Onto this. Execute. Now we have to go and verify our takeoff speeds again. Oh, and now our V speeds are unavailable. And what does that, and why is that? Because we have too low of a power and flap setting. So what if I change this to flap 10? Can we do it even at flap 15, or do we have to go to takeoff 1? Nope, we have to go takeoff 1, so maybe it's a climb performance limitation. Alright, so we go to performance, N1 limit. What if I do takeoff 1? Wow. That really just pushed us just a little bit over, didn't it? Are we over our MTO? Is that why? Is that why it's being a complainer about this? No, our MTO is 79 point. Our gross weight is 76.7. What am I doing here? Sorry. Just trying to create numbers that work. So maybe we can't do a derated takeoff at all. There we go. Nope, can't do a derated takeoff at all. We got so much weight on here. 76.7. Can we at least do it at a lower flap setting then? Yes, we can. Alright. It's a little more efficient if you have a lower flap setting. We'll use up a little more runway, but we won't have as much drag once we're airborne, so we'll do that at least. Save the company a tiny bit of money there. Okay, that's fixed. That took a couple minutes there to fix that. But I think we're just about ready to go here. We've got the APU gen is now on the bus. Won't make the same mistake I made last time, where I accidentally disconnect the ground power while it was still connected. And I just need, there, cockpit to ground.
Go ahead.
Please disconnect external power.
Roger. Disconnecting the GPU.
Alright, and so today we're going to get this flight going here in a second, and we're going to have a little bit of fun. I'm going to show you something really neat that the NGXu can do that I was wanted to see for a while, and finally PMDG was the first one to do it. Just just waiting for him to tell me the ground power is disconnected.
Captain, the GPU is disconnected.
Thank you.
The passengers are seated. Thanks.
Alright, I was saying thank you to the ground guys, but she took it for her, which is fine. That means she's probably going to pull the stairs away here, hopefully, in a second. I'll just command it because I'm going to do something a little unusual here. And the one thing as well, I'm just going to make sure is that they have disconnected our air conditioning card. So we removed the chocks, yeah, so that's good. Oh. Why are the stairs coming close? I thought the stairs were going away. What are you guys doing here? One stair left and one stair showed up. Now we're in some kind of a weird, awkward zone here. Okay. Well, here's what we're going to do. Before start procedures.
Check.
He's got a lot of switches to click here. Before start checklist.
Before start checklist. Flight deck door closed and locked. MCP.
Speed 157. Heading 097. Altitude 5,000.
Takeoff speeds.
V1 149, VR 150, V2 157. V2 157.
CDU pre-flight.
Complete.
Rudder and aileron trim.
Checked. Checked in 0. Free and 0.
Taxi and takeoff briefing.
Complete. Complete.
Anti-collision light on. Before start checklist complete.
Okay, so what we're going to do that's going to be a little different this time and why things are a little bit weird and out of order is we are going to push this big beast of an airplane back by ourselves. So, we'll assume we've got ground clearance. Everyone says we're connected and everything's good to go. And so we come into the PMDG or the FS Actions pushback menu. And what we do is we cycle through the different styles. Dot the I, cross the T, none other, self-drive. And we select a tug. And we can go ahead and release the parking brake. GSX is going to complain, and frankly I don't care about them anymore. Alright, hold on. I'm going to set it really quickly just so I can get rid of them. There. Alright, so in order to do this, you can see we've got the tug hooked up to our airplane. There is a there it is. There is a camera view specifically for the tug. It's supposed to be. Why it's not working, I don't know. It should be right from sitting in the tug. Why is that not working? Chase plane has probably wrecked this somehow. Because you're supposed to do this, and it's supposed to be you sitting in the tug, not using back here. Ah, useless. Useless. Alright, well, we could do it this way anyways. And all you have to do to control the tug is you just use your control column. So you just simply push forward if you want to go forwards, let it go to neutral to stop. And if you want to pull the plane backwards a little bit towards you, you just pull back on the controls. And of course you just turn the controls as well. The one thing that's funny is that it's actually inverted from the way you would actually steer a tug, because it's done the way you would steer an airplane, but the steering in a tug is normally backwards from this. I spent a good 10 years pushing airplanes back. I got pretty good at operating a tug, and this is not how a tug operates. Alright, So you need to go a lot further back here. And if you push the control column a lot more, you can go quite a bit faster, although I think they did start to limit the speed now. They've done a couple of updates to this. But it is neat. It would be much better if we were actually sitting in the tug, and you were actually staring at that nose wheel. But for whatever reason, it doesn't want to work. I think it has to do with FS2 crews, or not, Chase Plane did something. Because there it is again, we're back to this view. So, yeah. It's unfortunate because that's part of the fun of it, and part of the challenge is doing it from so close. So what I may do is I may even create a Chase Plane view that replicates where the tug should be relative to the aircraft. But I've always thought that, like, you know, steering an aircraft, pushing an aircraft back is a bit of a challenge. It's a bit of a difficult skill. So I've always thought that this was something that could be simulated that people would be interested in. People would be interested in trying their hand at actually pushing back an airplane and see if you can actually get it onto the taxi line. My goal is to get us onto that taxi line. I'm a little bit overdoing it here, but... And the bigger the airplane, of course, the harder it is. This is a relatively small airplane. In a narrow body, it's not that difficult to do. The bigger the airplane, the more you have to anticipate, the more you have to really plan out your moves ahead of time so you end up where you want to end up. The only problem with this is, of course, you can't really start the engines while you're doing the pushback, because you're preoccupied with doing one job and one job only. There we go. That's pretty good, though. Set your brakes. Sorry, let me just get my FS2 crew there. There we go. So I set the brakes. Sequence will be 2, then 1. Start sequence is 2, then 1.
Check.
Start engine 2.
Starting 2.
While he's doing that, then I can dismiss this tug. So all you got to do is select it none. I think they're going to come up with different style tugs later as well. So we need to bring up the engine instruments here. So now the tug is gone and we're ready to start. It lacks some of the immersion of GSX, but it's just a little bit of a fun distraction, if you will. And sometimes that's what this is about. This is about having fun. This is not just about doing things, every last little thing, perfectly professional, but it's also just for fun. So I like doing things like that. I like doing just things that are a little different. So that is something that was introduced with the NGXu. Apparently it's coming to most of the rest of the PMDG aircraft at some point. I think the next Queen of the Skies update will integrate that into the 747. You'll be able to push back your 747 from the gate, and therein is a great challenge. But that's also really good on the VATSIM network, where you may need an aircraft to get to a very specific location. You can use GSX to your advantage that way.
Starter cutout.
Start engine 1.
Starting 1.
You can use GSX that way, but you know, if it's a busy event, you could also use the pushback tug to your advantage there and get the airplane precisely where you need it for the pushback process. So I really kind of like that. It's a really neat feature. It's not something I use on every flight. Sometimes if I just want to get a flight going too, you know, last thing I need to do is be doing the whole pushback myself and then starting the engines afterwards. It's nice to start the engines during the pushback. And like I said, it takes the immersion down a notch, but that was just fun. I kind of enjoyed that. It's a pity we didn't have that view, because you really should be down low until you get the actual real tug driver perspective, and that camera's supposed to work. I don't know why it's not working. I will tinker with it at another date.
Oxygen and air pressures are always being monitored. In the event of a decompression, an oxygen mask will automatically appear in front of you. Start the flow of oxygen.
In the meantime, away we go from Punta Cana. Just about stable there.
Starter cutout.
There's the starter cutout, thank you. Alright, we've got 2 good starts. He's done the after start procedures. Flaps 10. I forgot. Oh. Flaps 5.
Flaps 5.
I forgot what the flap setting was going to be. Alright, flight control check. Full up, full down, centered.
Check.
Full left, full right, centered. And rudder left, rudder right, centered. Stand by 1 second. Okay, sorry about that, guys. Diffuse the situation. Flight control check complete. Before taxi checklist.
Before taxi checklist. Generators. On. Probe 8. On. Anti-ice. Off. Isolation valve. Auto. Engine start switches. Continuous. Recall.
Checked.
Checked. Auto brake. RTO. Engine start levers.
Idle detent.
Flight controls.
Checked.
Ground equipment.
Clear.
Clear. Before taxi checklist complete.
Clear on the left.
Clear right.
Alright, then let's get out of here. Not that I don't like hanging out at these beautiful tropical destinations. But it's time for us to get out of here already. Let's just make sure end flight is the active button, which means that this is tracking our flight correctly. That's what we need. And a little call on Unicom as well. Punta Cana traffic, Transat 233 is on the apron taxiing for departure, runway 09, Pixar 2 Tango departure. Alright, this is Echo Taxiway. This takes us all the way down to the end. A little bit of power now that we're away from the terminal apron. Because I do find, I feel like I'm always taxiing very fast in this airplane, but it's just because it's such a low-slung airplane, you're so close to the ground when you're in the flight deck that it feels like you're going faster than you are. Just waiting for the cabin to call secure, and then we can do the before takeoff checklist. Do have a nice transparent terminal building here, and that's always nice. Actually see through it.
Flight deck. Okay, thanks.
See people in there waiting to go.
Secure.
Thank you. Before takeoff checklist.
Before takeoff checklist. Flaps.
Flaps 10, green light.
Are you sure? Stabilizer trim.
Flaps 5, green light, sorry. And 4.5 units.
Before takeoff checklist complete.
There we go. I'm so confused about the flap and takeoff power settings because we changed it like 3 times over the course of this setup here. Alright, so it is a flap 5 departure. It's right there on the CDU, and it is what's actually set there is flap 5, so he did set it correctly. Gonna take a moment here to glance at my VATSPy on my other window just to see what's happening. I don't see too much else happening. There's one inbound to Punta Cana, but a long way away, so it shouldn't be much of an issue to us, so away we go. Alright, so I'm going to unmute this guy. We're going to tuck our way through the takeoff now, so this is going to be pretty quiet on the commentary front for a little while now. Runway entry procedure.
Check. Cabin crew, take your seats. Ready to go.
Checked. Clear on the left.
Clear right.
And I don't really believe he's actually looking, so I'm going to look for him too. Alright. Get the rest of those lights on. Takeoff.
Check. Thrust set.
Checked.
80 knots.
Checked.
V1. Rotate. Positive rate.
Gear up.
400 feet.
LNAV. VNAV speed.
Check.
Alright. We're going to turn that on because he's not accelerating here, so we're going to go to level change and set the speed higher. I don't remember seeing any speed restrictions.
Are you sure about that?
I'm not talking to you. I don't remember seeing any speed restrictions on the departure, but nevertheless, doesn't seem to want to do it, so. Flaps 1.
Flaps 1.
Flaps up.
Flaps up.
After takeoff checklist.
Stand by.
Checked. Set flight level 330. Goodbye, Punta Cana. It was nice being here. Go back to level change mode. So as we come around the tip here, this is the start of the sand beaches where the resorts are. Behind that cloud is where a lot of those resorts are.
3-0 set.
Checked. Did you do the after takeoff checklist? I can't remember if you did it. After takeoff checklist.
After takeoff checklist. Engine bleeds. On. Packs. Auto. Landing gear. Up and off. Flaps. Up. No lights. After takeoff checklist complete.
And there we go. We're underway for another leg, guys. Here we go. Yeah, so right there, you can see some of this nice white sandy beach, but that's where a lot of the resorts are.
Release the cabin.
Go for it.
Check.
Where a lot of the nice resorts are, so that's the sandy beach that everyone comes to in Punta Cana. You can see kind of the built-up area there. It's all just resorts, just one hotel after another along that whole beach. You can walk pretty much the whole beach from one hotel to the other without ever having to leave the hotel properties. Really nice place to just go if you just need some time away, just need a vacation. Just gonna skirt the edge of this cloud here. It doesn't look terrible, so we'll just keep going here. May keep the seatbelts on for a little while though. We were supposed to level off at 5,000 for those first couple of fixes, weren't we? Oh, yeah. Well, PC-101, yeah, we were supposed to be below 5,000 for that one. We'll set flight level 230 to make sure we don't bust the next one here. And even though we're going through 10,000, I'm not going to quite accelerate it yet. I just want to climb past these.
Want to release the cabin now?
No.
Okay.
We're going to wait off just a bit, just so we pass some of these clouds, because it's probably going to be a little bit shaky as we just kind of pass the edge of them here. So we're just going to try and get around them first, and then we'll release the cabin crew in a little bit. But there we go, we're on our way. Bottom line it for me here. We're looking at Toronto at 1906 Zulu. It's just a little over 4 hours from now. She is a beautiful island. It's a shame to leave it behind. Our next destination will not be quite so tropical, though it will be kind of fun because it is the home of the mouse. And I haven't necessarily got the Orlando City scene, but I do have the Taxi to Gate KMCO, which was a pretty good airport, except it has a few little glitches, and it bugs me, and there's nothing you can seem to do. Taxi to Gate doesn't seem to support their old stuff very much. Something happened, and the exclusion is not working properly. With the base scenery, and it's with the base P3D scenery. It's not even like it's the FTX Global scenery, the Orbex scenery, or anything like the Orbex airports or anything. It's the base P3D scenery does not work with Taxi to Gate with the new version 4. They never updated it to serve version 4, and it's fine except for the fact that there's just taxiway signs everywhere in the airport, and in the middle of taxiways there's signs because these things are not excluded properly in the from the new version of P3D, and Taxi to Gate never developed MCO for that, and they never really developed an update for it. They just basically vanished off the map for a long time, which is a shame because people have written about this problem and it's just fallen on deaf ears for a long time. And now they seem to be making a comeback, so I hope that it means that they are going to start fixing some of the problems that they have with some of their existing scenery to make it compatible with newer versions. It really wouldn't take much, but the exclusion has to be redone. Shouldn't take too much to get rid of those signs. Yes, the airport could probably use a bit of a facelift, a bit more modern generation of texturing, but at the very least, just get rid of those signs in the middle of the taxiways. You'll see, and it's a shame because otherwise it's a really good airport, and I will visit it and taxi through the signs, despite the signs. I will. Normally I don't like to stream airports that are low quality, and I don't consider it low quality, but I consider it a major oversight that needs to be dealt with. It's weird that cloud just sort of moves as I move my head. That's kind of odd, isn't it? It's a really weird sensation of motion. That was a little freaky. I can control the clouds just with my eyes. Alright, looks like we're going to level off just for a moment here at 230 before we get to Pixar, before we can resume our climb. So, if I zoom out enough, the problem with this flight today is that we are kind of doing west and east and west and east. I believe this leg here is slightly east, so we're supposed to do that at 330, and then back up to 34, and then to 340 for our westbound leg. So I think initially we'll climb to 330, just because we're going to turn eastbound here at whatever that fix is, a CEVO. Can't read it from here, but yeah, a CEVO. We're going to turn
Position altitude set standard.
standard set. There we go. Yeah, so because we're going to turn eastbound at Aceva, we'll start with 330 as our initial climb, and then when we make our next turn after that, up there at Serta, then we climb up to 340, and we're 340 for a while after that. Which is a beautifully rugged country too, though, by the looks of it. A lot of the country is not necessarily dedicated to resorts, but Punta Cana is one huge location where lots of North Americans get to go visit and enjoy just a little bit of that nice tropical weather where it's 34 degrees every single day. Alright, we're getting there. I really like this airplane, though. I mean, the level of detail, like I feel like you could reach out and you could almost touch these textures. These textures look so good. The fake leather grain textures here on the glare shield and everything. They look so good in this airplane, though, that you feel like you could reach out and touch them. The windshield wiper looks pretty solid there. You see vortex generators right in front of the windows, individually modeled there. There's a few places where the texturing falls down a little bit, and there's little screws up here where you can tell they're just textures, but or where the modeling falls down. But I mean, you have to be really kind of looking for those things. Like overall, you sit back here where in the pilot seat, and everything in this airplane just looks really good. The lights look really good. The lighting overall looks really good. Even the night lighting looks really good. I don't tend to show the night lighting in these videos anymore because I'm just tired of checked. I'm tired of doing night flying videos. They just never look very good. They never do real night flying justice. They just end up just looking really, really super dark, and all you see is black. You see the inside of the flight deck with a few lights, and you see black otherwise. So I really find it's not very realistic, but like this digital display here looks really good. It looks very realistic. As I play with things, we get different displays coming on there. Looks really good. There's the level off at 230, albeit briefly. We're about to pass Pixar, and then we can start our climb to 330. Let's do it now. And there's VNAV path, there comes the power again, and we're climbing. Should get my thrust levers synced a little better there. I know those blue indicators are not terribly realistic, that you don't normally have like a thrust lever position indicator, but because we also don't have an actual auto throttle system where my throttles will actually be moved by an auto throttle system, I need a way to sort of sync them together as we approach the airport. So I find that this PMDG has created a very nice, unobtrusive way of doing that. You can see that little blue line there. You can sync your thrust levers perfectly to where they are right now, and then when you disengage the auto thrust system, then they're in the right position to start. Alright, so just get a few more miles away from the Dominican here, and then it's going to be nothing but open ocean for a good at least hour and a half before we start to hit land again. I can show you our route here today. It's a little more westerly than the route we took down, but it still is quite a bit of open ocean north of Dominican here. Let's see if I can just get rid of the... follow me. There we go. So I can actually scroll around a little bit here. So we are going to come through a little corner of Jacksonville Center here, just from Janes up to Wilmington, and then from Wilmington we'll be overland. So about half this flight's going to be over water, about half it's going to be overland. Being a Saturday, we'll probably have some ATC at various points, I would expect. So we'll make sure that we're here to talk to Jacksonville Center when appropriate as we approach Janes. And yeah. But that's our route today. It's a little more westerly. I think when we came down, we kind of went offshore right about here. So there is a little bit of a wind, but we're just trying to take advantage of one of the shorter routes that were offered to us. You can't see it on here, but if I pull up... nope, not that. Actually, let me just minimize this because this uses a lot of processor power when I'm not doing anything with it. If I can pull up my Navigraph charts. For those of you that are not familiar with Caribbean operations, there is a whole series of airways up and down the east coast of the U.S. that are specifically designed just to get people to and from all these Caribbean islands. You can see just a half a dozen here, north-south airways. And so I think last time, we hit this airway right here, came across and went down. Sometimes you'll even fly out over New York. So New York is another common kind of expressway out into all these Caribbean routes. The trouble with the East Coast is there is a couple of areas where there's military operations areas offshore, things like that. So the airways tend to be fairly organized, so the airplanes are coming off at kind of very specific points, and then the operations happen in between. Lots of training exercises for the U.S. Air Force out there. You'll notice a similar thing here set up basically for Miami, where there is a whole bunch of north-south airways that focus the northeast, and they come offshore here in the Carolinas, heading down towards Miami. They might do it a little bit for Orlando, but Orlando they more swing down the coast. But for Miami, they tend to come offshore here and then be vectored onshore there. So we got a whole bunch of airways. It's funny when you start to look at the airway system in America and how it really is oriented to very specific urban centers. If you take a look at the northeast U.S. as well, there's another perfect example of almost everything is sort of in and out of the northeast U.S. Like, look at all these various east-west routes for in and out of Boston, in and out of New York, in and out of Washington. You don't have too many random routes across them like you do in other places, but in the northeast, it's such a high density of airports and such a high density of flights going west out of that area, or coming in from the west into that area, that you end up with a lot of parallel airways. And you can't see it here, but that's the way the ATC sectors break down as well. They tend to sort of be, the sectors tend to be aligned along these airways. So they'll be narrow, they'll be 50 miles wide, might encompass 2 airways, and then they'll be 300 or 400 miles long. Cleveland and New York airspace is a lot of this. So if you're flying along these airways, you might only change frequencies once or twice. But if you happen to be someone who perhaps is based in Toronto and then tends to fly across these areas a lot to go to southern areas, you know, down to Washington, down to even Atlanta and Florida and places like that, what you'll find is that every 3 to 4 minutes you're changing frequencies because you're crossing through so many of these east-west oriented ATC sectors, because they're not designed for that traffic flow. They're designed for the traffic flow in and out of the northeast U.S. And you see a similar thing that happens here on the west coast, north-south in and out of LA, San Francisco, and Seattle, and also east-west again from San Francisco and LA. You see a whole lot of parallel airways here, where a lot of this traffic follows very similar routes all the time. So it's interesting to look at the airway network. Like, you see some places in the middle of America and it's kind of somewhat random. You can see like a lot of stuff centered around Denver here, centered around Dallas. But especially the two coasts, California and the northeast US, there really is like so many airways focused on getting people in and out of those areas because there's just so much air traffic in and out of those areas. But yeah, back to long story short, we were, where were we here? Yeah, we were on one of these airways, so we're flying, let's see here, we're going to come up this airway here, I believe, and then we're going to kind of cut into Jacksonville's airspace and then turn north and basically start flying straight north from there back up towards Toronto. It's interesting to see the way some of these airspace designers work and how things are put together. It seems very random until you start looking at the reasons behind things, and then it starts to make sense. You look at like, and a perfect example of that is SIDS and stars, especially at major airports. They sort of seem, you know, almost random at first until you start overlaying them on different SIDS and stars, and then you realize that there are multiple SIDS and stars that are flying parallel to each other, and they're all carefully designed to keep each other apart. But when you're looking at it from a pilot's perspective, usually you're looking at a chart. And again, the New York area is great for sort of showing examples of this. So let's say that you've got Newark. So let's find Newark here. And One thing I can't do really very well with this. No, I don't think I can do it. Oh, I can do it actually. So show stars overview, and I love this feature of Navigraph, which you can see the various stars that they have for Newark and sort of how they align with the rest of the charts you have here. So it seems like just sort of random. There's this one that starts up here and then takes a big sharp turn, and same with these, and same with these. And it seems kind of random and sort of, you sort of say, why would they do it like that? But then what you do is you then start to overlay other airports in the New York area. And so if I do this, I do these, and then I do these charts, and what you'll see is that now, okay, now it starts to make more sense, because now these ones parallel the previous ones. You can't really see it because of where they are, but the other one was here and came here like this. So this one kind of just comes a little bit to the east side of this. So especially in a busy metro area like New York, where there's 3 major airports, you look at one star and you're like, why is it such a weird convoluted route? Why is it not more direct? But then you start to look at the other airports and their routes, and you say, oh, okay, so if you can look at all the airports at the same time and see how that breaks up the airspace, it starts to make a little bit more sense. There's a lot more that goes into a lot of these designing these arrivals than people ever really realize. Here's the arrivals for JFK. So these ones go really far east for the most part, and they come in the east side. So New York, basically, I like to say New York airspace was divided into basically a pie. It's got 3 of the largest airports, 3 of probably the top 20, top 10 maybe even busiest airports in America are located in one metropolitan area. An incredible amount of airplanes moving in this area, so how do we keep them all separate? Well, the easiest way was to divide up the pie. And so for the New York terminal airspace, they basically took the pie that is the New York terminal airspace. If I can get rid of the overlay. Stop showing me the overlay. Oh, can I kill that? Yeah, there we go. But basically everyone gets one section of the pie. So Newark gets all arrivals from the west, LaGuardia gets all arrivals from the north, JFK gets all arrivals from the southeast, so each one gets kind of a third of the pie, and they really don't cross too much. They pass over each other and go around each other, but you know, if you're going out from JFK, you don't go straight west. You go usually way down or way north, or you have to go way up and over and climb really high to get over these airspaces. So a lot of stuff when you're flying along with the pilot, a lot of these routings seem kind of arbitrary until you start to look at the pattern as it fits into the whole ATC system. When you can get to see the whole picture of where all the different arrivals for a metropolitan area are meeting, then it starts to make a little bit more sense. Now you see why some of the routings are not as direct as they could and should be. Alright, we're almost there. We're almost level at 330. Leaving Dominican behind us. I think Turks and Caicos will come up will be the next set of islands off on our left here shortly. And we're almost up to our cruise altitude here. One thing we can do while we're getting ready for our cruise altitude here, 1907, 4.4 in the tanks. We do have enough fuel, but let's go ahead and request a wind update. I did download a wind update prior to starting the flight, so it is there residing on my computer. The ACAR system just has to send for it and retrieve it. Give it 15 to 30 seconds.
Just a few moments. The flight attendants will be coming through the cabins, offering you beverages and a light snack.
Oh, that reminds me. We could probably take off the seatbelt sign now. Easy thing to forget. Cruise wind uplink ready. We hit the load button. And spend a couple seconds calculating some numbers, copying everything in there, and then we hit execute. And that really didn't change our bottom line here. Still 1907. Winds are pretty light, and they're not shifting all that much along our route, so I didn't expect a whole lot of change. But nevertheless, here we go. Odd patch of light colored ocean. I guess there must be a reef or something underneath us here. Checked. running at 100% power. Climb, full on climb here. Guess there's a reef there. From up here, you definitely see the patterns across the ocean. It's a bit unfortunate. But there we go. Leveling off, 330, and we got about 3 hours and 40 minutes until we get our descent going here. I don't still have that FMS in the corner, do I? Away. Oh, it is still there. The whole time that FMS was down in that corner. I'm sorry, guys. I don't always have my streaming up to look at. I'm more trying to actually look at the window here. So, here we are, level at 330. So, one thing that did happen yesterday or the day before, last couple days, is there was an update for Active Sky. Let's see if I can find some information about it here. Da-da-da. So there was some information put out yesterday. About an update to... No, that's not what I'm looking for. Sorry guys, I'm just trying to find something here. But yeah, so there was an update yesterday to the new Active Sky Open Beta to a version 4, which is good, because there was some issues with the previous version. Sorry, I'm just trying to find what I'm looking for here. That's what I'm looking for. So you'll remember I mentioned that last time I flew, we had an issue with the 737, and upon some further research we determined that Active Sky was the cause of it. When you bring the navigation display above 80 miles with the weather radar on, it was causing some major issues. It was causing PMDG's internal systems to bog down while waiting for some information from the Active Sky weather radar to be loaded properly, and they weren't loading properly. So there is a new version 4. And where was it here? Version number 4. And there it is. Fixed radar API range issues causing data issues at 80 miles and during range changes. So that sounds like dealing with what was happening with the NGXu. Did I download and install this open beta? Sure I did. Am I using it right now? Oh hey, no. Not on a live stream. I'm not going to be toying with that, toying with my own emotions and toying with my heart. Getting these streams sometimes done is enough of a challenge without having extra things standing in your way, extra added challenges. So I have installed it. I will test it on a personal flight at some point in the next couple days, but a little public service announcement for you guys there. If you're in the Active Sky open beta, if you haven't already noticed, version number 4 is posted. They have fixed a number of issues, and hopefully that this PMDG weather radar issue is one of the things that has been fixed. We certainly hope, because it made the airplane essentially unflyable when you did it without knowing what the cause was. It was just very frustrating. I was trying to deal with it, and I just couldn't even deal with it. I had to just give up. Did a little bit of research, and once I found out what the problem was, it's fairly simple to solve. But you have to have somebody there to tell you at least. So, but yeah. So if you guys are interested in that, if you're running the Active Sky Open Beta, version 4 is now out. Download it, run it, and let me know if that works with the PMDG products. I will be trying it out probably in the next couple days when I get some time. But not on the live stream here. The live stream, try and keep things a little bit safe, try and keep things happening fairly normally. But that is a good piece of news, is that that came out finally. Other than that, I can't think of too much else that's really going on right now. It's getting into summer, so I think the simming season is dropping off a little bit. People are happy to spend some time outside, especially in the north. Those of us in the northern hemisphere anyways are happy to go and spend some time outside, enjoying beautiful weather out there. So I think it's the simming is tending to drop off a little bit. I've noticed that VATSIM is not as busy as it has been in the past. There are still busy times and busy days, but the overall totals I think are falling a little bit. But partly that's I think people going back to work. Partly that's just summer. Just people getting out, stopping playing with the computer so much, stop hibernating inside, and go outside and just enjoy that real world, which I plan to do as well today. And probably going forward, I'm probably going to be doing that a bit more, so chances are that the frequency of the streams are going to fall off, especially once Season 3 is done. I'm going to probably take a little bit of a break before Season 4. I've been enjoying this, but it's become a bit of a frustrating chore just because this season has had some aircraft issues, some crashes, sim crashes, and other things that have really kind of taken away a bit of the joy of it, unfortunately, making it a bit more of a chore than a joy. So I'm probably going to end up taking a little bit of a hiatus after I finish Season 3, after I finish the Orlando turn here at the end of these 3 legs, and just take a little while to really enjoy the summer and just unwind a little bit. This has become, sometimes this streaming has become stressful when things are not going well, when things are crashing, when planes are not flying correctly, or even just the stress of an airplane that is potentially going to crash, going to cause a sim crash, and you're sitting there watching it on edge the whole time. Don't need that much stress from a hobby, that's for sure. I believe that's the Turks and Caicos now off the left side there. Let's see what else though. There has been a little bit of good news in this world. This world is full of bad news most of the time, but a little bit of good news in this world, that a bunch of people are finally heading back to work. Canada in May posted almost 300,000 new jobs, new people back to work, which represents about 10% of the people who were laid off by COVID. So it's not like this is, everybody's back to work, but it's a move in the right direction. Things are starting to come out of lockdown. People are starting to go back to work in larger numbers. It's the end is in sight. It's not here yet, but we're starting to see things unwind. Do have to be careful about it though. I do worry about that second wave coming in if people stop thinking about social distancing altogether, and it seems like some people quickly grew very what is the word? Ambivalent, perhaps, towards social distancing. It became a norm very quickly, but then people started to become less cautious about it, and they started just sort of going off and doing whatever they felt like. A month or so ago, you take a trip to a store, like a grocery store, and everybody be in masks. Everybody would be like taking a step back anytime they thought they were less than 6 feet away from anybody else. And very quickly, people stopped doing that. People, you see a little bit of good news in the paper, and everyone says, "Oh, it's fine, it's over. We can get close to each other. We don't have to wear masks every time we go out of the house." But it's only because those steps were working so well that things were getting better. The second we start relaxing and letting our guard down too much, we risk going right back down that road again and having to lock things down again until the spread can be contained again. So just because we're coming out of a lockdown does not mean that we can give up on all of our safety measures that we've been putting in place. We really have to still be vigilant. But nevertheless, there is some good news on the horizon. Things are starting to reopen. People are starting to go back to work. Hopefully the economies will start to pick up some steam on their own without needing an endless amount of government stimulus. Certainly hope it won't be an endless amount of government stimulus that's coming our ways, because somebody's going to have to pay for that at the end of the day. See what else is new in the flight sim world here. Really can't think of too much. I mean, there are some periodic scenery releases, but there doesn't seem to be anything that sort of is really revolutionary these days. There's lots of scenery releases. What amazes me is how much Orbex is putting out there these days. They have become such a prolific producer of content, and it's not just their own content. They of course have other developers now also selling on their platform, developing for their platform, but it's amazing how as a sales platform that has really grown and just taken off in the last year or so, since they sort of opened it up to other developers especially. But the amount of material, like every week there's something new coming out, some new airport, some new region being adapted for X-Plane or being converted for version 5, but they're a constant news powerhouse now, more so than anybody else. I think that as a developer they are probably quickly becoming the most prolific developer out there, certainly as far as scenery goes. Probably the largest variety of scenery products. Like, I can't think of anyone really that's putting out the volume of scenery products that Orbex does now. Just literally, dozens and dozens of new airports every year, because they've got so many people kind of working in-house, so as in-house development projects. But I mean, it's good to see such a healthy ecosystem. It makes you wonder what's going to happen with the new version of Microsoft Flight Simulator. Is there going to be still room for add-on developers to the degree that there has been in the past now? I think there will be, because there's no way that any one company can develop all the scenery realistically around the world. The way that the new Microsoft Flight Simulator is dealing with it, there's not people sitting there and hand modeling every single airport out there and all the buildings out there. It's a lot of procedural generation. It's using the tools that they have, and they have the Bing Maps data, they have all this geographic satellite data, but it's not like somebody sitting down there and mapping out each building on there. They're using procedural generation to take all this data and try and make it into a good 3D sim, but there's limitations to that. The data is not as good in some areas as others. There can be mistakes with assumptions that are made in this procedural generation, and where it will overall generally look good, but specific things may not specific areas may not turn out ideally. So it's not going to be ideal everywhere. There's going to be certainly large areas where they do have artists working on doing hand modeling, certainly around airports and major metropolitan areas, as they have in the previous versions, and they'll look pretty good right off the bat. So how much will developers really be needed in this new version? I think airplanes alone. Airplanes are always something that is very complex and hard to implement in the sim, and takes a lot of effort. So certainly I think aircraft developers will still be able to, there will be a certain number of airplanes available in the default version, but that will be a fraction of the number of airplanes that could be developed out there. There will always be a market for a good 737 out there, for people to fly around with, 320s and so forth. They have the iconic 747. Will it be the same level as the PMDG? It probably not. PMDG put a lot of effort into theirs, and who knows how many thousands and thousands of man-hours went into the development of that aircraft, and can Microsoft and Asobo really spare that much manpower on a per airplane basis? I'm sure they will be better than the default airplanes have been in the past, and that's kind of that's what you're holding people up to, really. That's the standard you're holding people up to, is what has been the default aircraft experience in the past, and are we better than that? I don't think they're necessarily try and score the highest default experience in the world right off the bat. Certainly it will be better than any of the other default experiences we've experienced so far, but it'll be interesting to see how the developers handle this. There's still so many unknowns about it, and it seems like, it still seems pretty far distant to me at this point. There are regular development updates. Things are being added, but it just, without an end date, without a release date, it still is it's all still really theoretical and hypothetical. You can show as much pretty scenery as you want, but ask anybody who's bought into what's that Chris Roberts project called now? That I can't even think of it. I can't even think what it's called now. I'm just having a bit of a Star Citizen, thank you, that's what it's called. I had to actually Google it. But ask anyone who's bought into Star Citizen. You can have lots of great previews. You can have years and years of great looking previews and not have an end product, possibly. I don't think Microsoft's going to end up down that road, but it's still, to me, until they reach that, final phase, it still seems to me just all theoretical at this point. It's not something that is imminent on the horizon, something that we should be imminently preparing for. You know, I'm not going to stop simming the way I'm simming right now just because Microsoft is about to release a new simulator, because they're not really about to release it. They're still heavily, it feels like they're still heavy into the development phase. They're still adding a lot of features. So I'm excited, but I don't want to get my hopes up too much about what this is going to be and when it's going to come out even. Just because it's got 2020 in the name doesn't necessarily mean it has to come out this year. It doesn't take much to change that last 0 to a 1 or a 2, and all of a sudden it's another 2 years of development. Are these two EFBs independent? I guess they must be. I've never really taken much time to look at my FO's EFB, but take a look at that. Yeah, they are two fully functional independent EFBs, just to penalize your computer processor that much more. I guess I could have done my performance calculations on here, because I'm pretty sure there is a takeoff performance calculator on here. If I can go back to, there we go, performance. Let's just do a little experimenting with this, because I haven't really used this takeoff performance calculator too much. Runways, 09. Yeah, we'll say dry. What am I missing? Wind, temperature, okay. See if I can remember what the QNH was. Show keyboard, 1019. Outside air temperature, we'll say was 34. And we'll just say winds 100 at 10. Takeoff weight. Okay, here we go. What was our takeoff weight? Let's see if I can remember here. We have to reset the MCP once. Alright, so what are we at here right now? 73.4, so we'll say 76,000. Yeah, and takeoff CFG, we'll say 29%. And calculate. Oh, it gave me a warning of some kind. These speeds cannot be hot, set to a different flap rate. Okay, yep, which was what I found out last time, so let's do just straight takeoff. Calculate. Nope, doesn't like this one at all. Calculate. Really does not like this calculation here for some reason. Why was the outside temperature in Fahrenheit? Fine, let's say it was 90 Fahrenheit. I don't know what that works out to. 1019. Calculate. Oh, it really does not like this runway. 09, no takeoff. What if we were to take this back to like 75,000? Show keyboard. I'm assuming that this is in kilos because that's what's selected on the airplane, but maybe that's... Calculate. Nope. I have never really tried to use this, so I don't know how to make this. Can you do a flap 25 takeoff? Can we do it? These speeds cannot be calculated. What if I turn off the air conditioning? Flaps 15. Calculate. Well, we made it off the ground, so it should work. I've never tried to do this calculation before. It does not seem to be very reliable. I'll have to try it again. 110, 10 knot headwind. 9 degrees Fahrenheit, 1019. Huh. That's a pity I can't make that work. I'll have to figure that out another day. Oh, did we just make our turn? We did, didn't we? Alright, so now we can climb to 34,000. Just what I was waiting for. Step climb. And altitude intervention button, and here we go, 340. And then we'll level off at 340 for a while here. I'll have to play with this a little bit another day because it's not that short of a runway. It shouldn't be that hard to get off the ground, especially with a 10 knot headwind component. How is it not getting off the ground? Altimeter's correct. Temperature's reasonable. What if I take the temperature down a bunch? I should probably stop playing with this lest I kill it. Alright, let's take it way down. Let's say 50 degrees. Nope. I cannot seem to get a calculation that works off this particular runway. 09 MDPC is apparently too little for this, too short for this airplane. 75,000 kilos is not an unreasonable weight, right? Unless this has got to be in pounds, in which case I've got to double it. No, see, it seems to have these taxi, takeoff, landings at FW. Is my CFG too far out? Oh, maybe my CFG is too far out. Let's just find that takeoff page again. What was my CFG at? 29.6? No, that's where it was at. Oh, maybe because it's supposed to be in pounds on this. So let's try a ZFW of 133,000. Maybe that's why it won't come up with a performance calculation. Performance. Okay, so let's do this. Let's do a takeoff weight of 135,000. Show me the keyboard. 135. Oop. 135,000. Calculate. Ah, okay, there we go. That's why my weights were so low that I didn't know how to calculate, because I was working in kilos, which is what this airplane is set up for. But this, I wonder if there's a way to change this, to change it so that it will take kilos instead of pounds, because it's going to be very annoying if you have to convert from kilos over here to pounds just to get your takeoff performance data. That would be very annoying. Intriguing. Learning something new every day here. Alright, just going to have a quick look at my map just to see where we are relative to, nope, not that, this, relative to, okay, so we're doing this little jog here, but it's going to be way up here at Janes that we get into Jacksonville territory, so, yeah. Anyway, so that's how the takeoff performance, so flap 15, V1 124, VR 131, V2 137. So maybe next time we'll try this out and we'll see on our way to Orlando if we can steal some performance numbers maybe from this calculator here and use them instead. Anyways, I think we're going to step away for a little bit now. Nobody seems too inclined to chat too much in my stream here, so if you got anything to ask, any questions to ask, by all means ask them now. I'm not a 3.7 expert, but I do like this airplane a lot. It's a lot of fun to fly. Anyone who's thinking about it, who's been on the fence about it, I think it's worthwhile. I do. It's very well done overall. Oh, I should probably be on COM 1 here. It's very well done overall. The EFBs are handy. You can get by without them. You know, we all got by for a long time without them, using charts on whatever other device or window we had nearby. But they are handy to have in the airplane, for sure. But just the overall feel of this airplane, I've always loved the idea of service-based failures too. So if you abuse your airplane, things are more likely to break on it. I've always loved that idea, and so I always have service-based failures enabled. The fact that you can run out of engine oil and hydraulic fluid, and if you don't check them, I don't know if you saw it, but I did check them before we departed. We got a reasonable amount of oil quantity on either side, 69 and 74. This left engine seems to burn a little more oil than the right engine in this airplane. I swear I'm always topping up that side. hydraulic systems as well. You've got to watch them. They do eventually leak fluid, and if you're not on it, you know, you try to do a takeoff without sufficient fluid, you may have a problem before you get to your destination. I like the way it's all linked together into one living, breathing machine, and that's where I think their global flight ops as well will really work with these airplanes that are linked together, and you get to use what other people have also used or perhaps abused, and deal with the fallout of their decision making. Alright, anyways, yeah, I think we're going to step away for a little bit because in probably about an hour we're going to be in Jacksonville space, so we'll probably have to come back for that. Let's see here, Janes is the intersection we're looking for. We're going to hit it at about 17:08 Zulu, so a little more than an hour from now. So we're going to step away. Oh, I didn't mean to hit wind's request again. Oops, my bad. Yeah, so we're going to step away for a little bit, guys, but feel free to leave anything in the chat. I'll read it when I come back, and we will, otherwise we'll see you in a little bit here once we get into Jacksonville's airspace. Just one moment while I just set this up here. Alright, before we step away, we did get we just got the cruise winds back, so let's just go ahead. This shouldn't really make a difference now, but since they're here and queued up ready to go, we'll load them again. They're loading. Execute, and we're good. Alright guys, so we're going to step away for a little bit, but in the meantime, thank you guys so much for watching, and we'll see you when we get back. Hey guys, Captain Abs back in the flight deck here as scheduled. Unfortunately, after we did approach chains here, before we approached chains here, Jacksonville Center did log off, so there isn't really much going on right now. So we're just going to have a quick look around the flight deck, see what the status is of our aircraft. First of all, as always, fuel status is one of the most important. We get 600 and 3900 on each side, so that's just a hair under 4. So we'll call that just a little over 8,300 kilos left on board, 8,400 kilos left on board. Still draining from the center tanks. Those are going to run dry in about probably the next 10 minutes or so. But still working off those for now. At the end of the day, the bottom line is we're still getting to Toronto at 1905, 4.3 in the tanks, not too bad. And that's about it. You can quickly check the rest of our systems here. Landing gear is looking perfectly normal brake temp wise. Hydraulic systems all look normal. And the remaining balance of our engine parameters also look, everything looks normal. Not much in the way of vibration. Oil pressure is nominal. Everything's looking pretty good there. So we'll blank that out. Cabin, this is a hard one to look at sometimes because TrackIR has a hard time tracking me, but there we go. The cabin just below max. Cabin altitude sitting around 7,000 feet with no cabin climb rate showing, so I'd say we're pretty stable there. That's about all I can really check on this aircraft. There's not too much. So we've still got, we're at 1713. We're landing at 1905, I think we said. So that's just a little under 2 hours from now. So probably about 1 hour we'll get back in the flight deck. So we are just beginning to approach the coast of North America here. You can, yeah, you can sort of see it off there in the distance. You can see the lighter shade of water there as we head in towards the coastal waters. It just bring up some perspective on where we fit in here. If we go back to our Sim Toolkit Pro and hit up our live maps here. So here we are. We're about to turn right at Oldie and then basically head almost straight north, across the border across the coastline at Wilmington, and more or less almost straight north, slightly northwest to get all the way to Toronto. As you can see here in pale blue across my screen here, we do have a couple of ATC centers online, but our route takes us right up the middle with not much ATC coverage at this point. So with that in mind, I'm probably going to step back away because I really don't have a whole lot more to say. Nobody's really talking too much here at this point. So again, if you guys want to chat, just say something, put it in the chat window. I'll see it and I'll talk about it. But otherwise, I think we are going to step back away for about the next hour, and about probably at about quarter after 18 Zulu, we will probably, so about an hour from now, we'll hop back in the flight deck for setting up for that approach into Toronto and arriving. Of course, if we get ATC online before that, we may sit down before that. But yeah, in the meantime, stick with me till then. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'm sorry that it's a bit of a boring stream today. I'm sort of running out of a little bit of steam of things to talk about, but I think that's part of the reason why maybe I'll need to take a break after we do our Orlando turn. Then we will start looking at maybe taking a little break from streaming just for a little while, not because I don't like streaming, but because I've run out of things I find to talk about. I think, I don't know, maybe you guys are still finding these interesting. I just find not as many people are tuning in and asking questions along the way. So as I said, we'll probably, just for the summer anyways, we'll go on a little bit of a summer hiatus, enjoy the nice weather outside while it lasts, because Lord knows in Canada it ends pretty darn quickly. But yeah, for now we're going to step back out for about another hour, so rejoin us at just after 18 Zulu, and let's see, right there. We'll be back at just after 18 Zulu, and for our setting up for our arrival in Toronto. In the meantime, you guys stay safe out there, and we will see you all out there on the network real soon.
Station calling, carrier only, no modulation.
And radio check, Transat 233, how do you read?
Air Transat 233 Washington Center, good afternoon, that's much better, loud and clear.
Thank you very much. Transat 233 with you, level 240. Correction, 340.
Transat 233 Heavy, squawk 0544.
0544 coming in the box, Transat 233 Heavy. We're not heavy. What am I doing? Why do I keep saying heavy when we're not heavy? Alright, so Washington Center came online, so we got a little bit of ATC on our side now.
And Transat 233 radar contact 42 miles southeast of the Kessel VOR, welcome aboard.
Position checks, thank you, Transat 233. Alright, so we do have now some ATC on board here. Thought I clicked the station button, maybe I didn't, there it is. Yeah, so welcome back, guys. Came back a few minutes earlier than I planned because Washington Center logged on. We're flying through their airspace slowly but surely. And we're going to start getting ready for our arrival in Toronto in just a couple minutes. I'm going to step back out for just one more minute to clean up what I was doing just when I got pinged by Washington ATC, but I will be right back, guys.
Delta 1281 Washington Center, good afternoon. Squawk 0521.
0521, 1281.
WestJet 1789, contact the Atlanta Center 132.907. Happy landing, thanks for stopping by.
Alright, we'll contact Atlanta 122.907 and have a good day, WestJet 1789.
Alright guys, Captain Nabs is back in the flight deck to stay now, I think, for the remainder of our flight here to Toronto, even though we're just flying through Washington's airspace. In actual fact, we're halfway through before we even got on here, so we'll be flying back out of the airspace in about 20 minutes or so, if even that, but we will be getting ready for our arrival in Toronto. Our Toronto arrival is less than 300 miles away, less than an hour away at this point, so we really need to start getting ready for it just in the next few minutes. I'm just going to have a quick look around the flight deck here in a second. Alright, so just a quick status update in the flight deck, make sure everything is still working out the way it's supposed to. We're looking even better than we were before now. Toronto showing 1902 Zulu, just a little bit earlier than before. 5.9 in the tanks. I believe our alternate was only 2.8, so we got an extra 2,000 kilos. We got almost an hour of extra fuel, at least 40 minutes of extra fuel, based certainly on our present rate of consumption, which is a little higher down low, but we can certainly say we're going to have 30 to 40 minutes of extra fuel when we get to Toronto. So we got lots of extra fuel on our hands here. That's good. Again, quick fuel check here. We got let's see here. We got a little under 6,000, I should say. About 5,700 kilos right now. The center tanks are both off because the center tank has been drained, and now we're just running on the wing tanks themselves. Just a quick check. The pressurization still looks good. No need for passenger or crew oxygen, nothing like that. And rest of the engine gauges are still all looking nominal. No, nothing showing up crazy there. Oil quantity in the left engine, slowly it's getting down there. It's churning through that oil slowly but surely, so we may need to refill the oil when we get back to Toronto before our next leg. And hydraulic systems are looking funky. No, they're looking fine. Looking good. So yeah, there we are, back in the flight deck and back on board. Anything interesting happen while I was away? No, nothing? Alright, good to know. My FO is not a good chatter. Now that's the next step of the FS2 crew. Have it respond to inane questions. So, you live close to the airport? If you guys have never seen that video, it is hilarious. Let's see if I can find it here. I really am not normally spend time showing off other YouTube videos while I'm streaming, but this is a funny one. If I can just find it here. Give me 1 second. Let's see what I search for.
And once that's at 233 legal airspace, the Cleveland Center is offline. Monitor Unicom 122.8. Happy landing. Thanks for stopping by.
Okay, sorry for our late call. Back to Unicom 22.8 for Transat 232. Have a good rest of your day as well. Alright, and there we go. We're off to Unicom and Cleveland Center, and what is the last center we got to go through till we get to our destination. So, can't find it. Hey, there it is. Hold on. Sorry, we're just going to there we go. I found it. So if you have never seen, if you're a pilot, real world or just even simulated, and you have never seen YouTube's, the YouTube videos Living the Dream, you're missing out. First of all, you are missing out here. Alright. It's just a hilarious. This guy's put out, I think, 4 different versions of this, but things that every pilot deals with, and it all starts when someone says, "Living the dream." Not necessarily child friendly, but yep, every day. So what I was going to get to was trying to find a conversation topic sometimes can be a challenge. Hold on 1 second. I'm just going to mute P3D for a second.
Are done and I got completely f***ed next month. Oh? 23 years at this heap and I can't get the days I want? Who staffs this place? Fucking DMV? 23 years? Yeah! Well, did you at least get the holiday off? What's that? The 4th. Did you get... The 4th what? Of July. Big holiday? That! What's that? What? That word! 23 years and you've forgotten what a holiday is? I don't know. You're serious. Haagen-Dazs? To your left.
And it goes on like this for a long time.
Tell them to contact Washington on 124.3.
Yeah, we'll try to get them. I'm on radio 2 for a second. For them on 12.
Anyways, you have to watch this video in its entirety, but it's called Living the Dream. There's a whole bunch of different parts. If you ever get a chance, guys, when you're just looking for something to do on YouTube, Living the Dream is an absolutely hilarious series of vignettes of what being a pilot is really like, the downsides of being a pilot. It's just a hilarious group, but one of them is, of course, trying to find conversation topics in the flight deck. Every pilot has struggled with that 1,000 times in their career, trying to find something in common that you can talk about with the guy next to you that you're stuck with, next to for 4, 5, 6, 8, 10 hours. What do you talk about? Hey, do you live close to the airport? You like stuff? What have you been watching on Netflix lately? Like, these are the kind of things that you just to try and start a conversation. Like, how do you start a conversation with someone you don't know, someone you may have just met, 2 hours ago, and how do you start a conversation with a person like that? And some people are easy, and some people are more than happy to start chatting about almost anything. But some people are not, and I don't mean that in a bad way, but some people are just a bit introverted, they're a bit quiet, they don't necessarily start talking right away when, or they'll answer a question with just like you live close to the airport, and the guy just says, yep. And that's the end of it. It just that's it. Leaves the yep hanging there for an hour or two, and that's all you hear. And that's some people are chatty. Some people are by their nature chatty, and some people you get along with well, and you have something in common. As long as you can find something in common, you can usually chat quite quickly and quite for quite a long time, and these 4-hour legs go by just like that. But once in a while, you get one of these people that is just the strong silent type. Either there's just something about you and that person that's just incompatible. You don't share the same interests whatsoever, the same opinions on anything. You know, maybe they are just a strong silent type. There are people who are like that. That really just, you know, you try to just to pass the time. You know, it's not that I'm necessarily I'm trying to become best friends with you, but I'd like to, you know, talk to you a little bit, get to know you. We're going to be sitting here for 4 hours. We could either sit here in silence, or we could be human beings and converse. And some people are happy to sit there in silence for 4 or 5 hours. So, in that case, so be it. You do what you can. There have been people that I thought were like that, but some people you just have to find the right topic. You just have to find a topic that really appeals to them, that they really want to talk about, and all of a sudden, boom, they're all over it, and you can't shut them up. There was one guy I flew with, and for a long time, I couldn't get him to say more than a couple of words on any given flight. And then one day I found out that he liked boats. I flew with him quite a few times, and I found out he liked boating. He had his own sailboat. So I asked him about that, and he wouldn't stop talking about it for an hour or two. And it was great, because it was nice to finally break down that wall and be able to talk to this guy and say, we have something. I'm not a boater, but I was more than happy to talk to him about it, ask questions, listen to what he had to say about some of the stuff he'd done. You know, sometimes you just have to find that one topic that a person just loves to talk about and needs to unlock. Anyways, right now we are about 120 miles. Here's our top of descent scrolling into view here. So we are going to go ahead and pull up our FS2 crew window again here and start getting ready for this arrival into Toronto.
Checked.
Let's start setting up for the descent.
Check.
So he's going to do some stuff, I'm going to do some stuff. So let's talk about speeds. Let's see if we can get performance. Show landing page. Let's see if we can get some landing speeds for Toronto out of our FMS, just for the fun of it. Search ident, there we go. Runways, we're going to say 06 left for arrival today. There should be an ATIS up in Toronto, because there are some controllers in there. And I do have a CYYZ ATIS. Beauty, I got it already. And wrong way, 24 right. Okay, that's fine, we can deal with this. Right now we're just doing performance data. We're going to say it's going to be a dry runway. It's a nice day. Winds we don't have to put in, but we could. 320 at 17. 320 at... Oop, stop doing it. There it is. 320. If it doesn't have the green outline, it's not going to type. 320 at 17. OAT. It's 25 Celsius. I don't know what that works out to. Like 75 Fahrenheit? I don't know. Nobody knows. Pretty close. And 29.88. There we go. Flap config, we'll do a flaps 30 landing with the air conditioning on but the anti-ice off. And hit calculate. And there we go. And VREF additive. I accidentally deleted that. It was a 5-knot additive. There we go. Dispatch landing data for runway 24 right, weight limit 146,300 pounds. Quick turnaround weight 182,000 pounds. BREF 30 plus 5 is going to be 154 knots. It doesn't actually give you the landing distance, but if it calculates the numbers, it must have sufficient information. And this is... We'll do it without reverse credit. And let's see here if it's got a landing weight estimate for us here. Gross weight 66,000 times 2.2, that's 132,000 pounds. That was easy math. It's not always that easy. 132,000 pounds. And non-normal, none. Can I calculate? Yes, I can. Again, I lost my VRF additive here while I was messing with it here. Calculate. Landing distance required, here we are. 7647, landing distance available 9531. So our VREF 30 plus 5 is going to be 147. So we have numbers that work. I have wasted most of this time figuring that out, but we do have numbers that work, so it should be a VREF of 147, which this more or less agrees with. We'll go ahead. 2 knots is not going to make a whole lot of difference at the end of the day. I could actually change it if I really wanted to and say flap 30 / 147 and manually specify and copy what I've got in calculation there. I'm allowed to do that. I've got a valid source here, and I do have a valid landing distance data. So for the first time, I think, in almost forever, I have successfully calculated the landing distance, and we do have sufficient landing distance on this runway. Especially with no reverser credit. And of course we are going to use reverse, but we're not going to consider it in our calculation. So if we can stop in that distance without the reverse, obviously with the reverse we're going to be able to stop quite a bit quicker. Okay, other things we need to do. We do need to get our charts up, so we need to go to menu, not airport map, terminal charts, that's what I meant to do. Terminal charts, chart clip, and we're going to start using Toronto, edit our clip, and let's add some things to it. So we need page down. So let's just do, first of all, taxi charts, and let's see if we can just find just the parking gates. There we go. And then we are going to have to do the stars, so the Ling arrival for the 23s and 24s, Ling 2, 23, 24 right, that's the one. And the approach we're going to plan on is going to be the ILS to runway 24 right, no, next page probably, ILS 24 right, there it is. Complete, and now we got everything we need in our chart clip. Beauty. Okay, what we are going to have to do though is, first of all, just put in some approach data here. So we're going to need 1093 INV. So we're going to set that to both sides here. 1093 and 1093. And it's 237 the inbound course. Set inbound course your side. Set course your side 237. Set course on your side 237. There we go, I got the voice command, he's going to do it. Beauty. Barrel mins on this are 796.
Course 237 set.
Easier when this airplane's not shaking constantly. Or maybe it's just my head that's shaking, I don't know. Almost there. There you go, barrel 796 is set. And the altimeter for Toronto out of the 8 is, we got uniform, we got 2988. So we're going to go ahead and set this back to inches, 2988. And we have to, oops, I'm just going to switch this for a second. Oh, it was in, there we go. 2988 set there, and then back to standard for now, but then we just have to flick it. Alright, and I think we've just about got everything. We got minimums, we got frequencies. We do have to change the FMS up here, so let me just pull up my AviaWorks here because it's just easier for me to do it on here sometimes. Alright, so I'm going to pull that up, so we're just going to do... first of all, arrival into Toronto is now going to be runway 24 right, ILS via Picma, and then the Ling 2 arrival 24 right and left Wozy, perfect, route. That's all in there, execute. And yes, arrival was NA for that runway, but we switched it, so now we should have everything set up. So now we're going to pull up, really wish I had, I'm just going to do this for now. That's terrible, isn't it? You guys can't see that at all. Let's see if I can just quickly kind of zoom this in here so you guys can have a good look at this EFB. Tilt it up just a little bit. Oh, way too far, way too far. Very gentle on the tilt, gentle on the tilt. And maybe just a little bit this way. Oops, too far. Something like that anyways, that's pretty nicely centered. I'm going to call that EFB for now. And now we got a nice EFB view ready to go. Alright, so we got the EFB up here, we've got our charts, everything's ready, so we're going to be doing the, we're going to be starting with the link to arrival here into Toronto at WOZI. Any notes of interest, nothing unusual, RNAV 1 DDI or GNSS required, safe altitude to 100 miles is 49, jet aircraft only, and continuous descent operations in effect. If you're not familiar with them, there's a chart page you can read. The fixes we got here are WOZI, Iston, Ling. Then we do youth, 250 knots between 11 and 13,000. We go to BIMPO at the bottom there, at 210 at 8,000. Then we go to Verco, then we should have Mayrod, Dekni, Davno, and Dunal. We do, so everything got switched around correctly. And after Dunal, it is a 057 vector until we get vectored around or provide a self vector onto the ILS to runway 24 right. ILS 24 right. So this is on page 11-8, the 21st of May 2020, 1093 and 237, I believe we said, but we can have a quick look around and just confirm. 1093 on nav 2, on nav 1, and 237 inbound course set both sides. Okay, good. Glide slope at NOAA, 1970, you see it there. And the ILSDA of 796, again, pretty sure we set that over here. 796 barrow is set there. Touchdown zone at 546. The MSA is highest, most of the sectors around Toronto at 3,100 feet. The missed approach is straight ahead 237 onto 1.5 INV, which is the DME, which is the localizer DME, and then a climbing left turn to 3,000 on a heading of 189 outbound to the Petville intersection to hold at 3,000 as published here. Radar RNAV required. Caution, don't land on taxiway Charlie to the right, similar appearance to the runway. 100 miles safe, 49, simultaneous authorized. Simultaneous approach is authorized for 23, local reliable 10 degrees center line only. Procedure turns not authorized. Standard notes for Toronto. We got RILs on the left, we got RILs, PAPIs on the left, and SSALS lighting system to guide us in. 5,000 RVR a mile visibility. It's a beautiful day out there. Once we land, we'll taxi to Terminal 3. So I expect we'll probably be vacating at Charlie 4, maybe Charlie 2. Either way, it'll probably most likely be Delta and Alpha up to Terminal 3. I don't know where we're going to park. We're going to pick something when we get a little closer in. But we got to get ready for this descent. I never asked him. Are you ready for the approach briefing? Are you ready for the approach briefing?
I am ready.
Yeah, okay, anyways. So that's basically it for the charts. Terrain, not too much around Toronto. 3,100 feet is the highest altitude. Weather is a little bit cloudy, but otherwise I didn't see anything fairly untowards. It's scattered at 6,500. Winds, good crosswind from the northwest, but that's about it. So weather, operational, nothing much I can think of. Well, let's have a little look-see at the NOTAMs. Certainly didn't see anything, no MELs on this airplane. Let's see here. Taxiway Bravo we're not going to use. There is some construction happening, or paving or something anyways. Bravo 2 closed. Alpha between Alpha, Delta, and Taxiway Hotel. Lots of stuff closed around the airport. I think they're doing a lot of maintenance these days, trying to repave stuff while there's not many airplanes moving around, because repaving at an major airport like this can be a real pain, because you really, the key taxi routes that are used commonly, it's hard to close them down for any length of time and to work around them. It really does constrain the capacity of these airports, so it's very tough to fit in maintenance oftentimes. They have to sort of do it sometimes, just repave just small stretches just during a day, during daytime, during non-peak periods, and then by afternoon rush they have to be back open again. 15 left, 33 right, closed. Available as taxiway, so we're not going to be using that anyway. 0523, 23, yep, nothing there. 24 left, approach procedures, nothing there for our arrival runway either, so I'd say we're good. So that's basically it. And then fuel, as I said, we need 2,800 to get to our alternate of London, Ontario, and we are looking at, in the tanks, 5,000 kilos when we get there. So we still got 3,000 or 2,000 extra. So we definitely got a good 30 minutes of extra fuel. Any questions?
Not today.
Now, one thing I did not do here was I didn't set up my FS2 crew here, so let's get this set up. Star, ILS, landing flap 30, bleeds on, final approach fix altitude, what do we say, 1970? At NOAA, 1970, yep. It's like I've flown this approach before. I may know some of these numbers here. Minimum 796, missed approach altitude 3000. Runway condition is soon to be dry. Auto brake 2, ASDX. Yes, absolutely. Single engine taxi? Nah. Stand. Gate. No, it is gate. Next page. APU, but a delayed start. Yep. Concerns? None really. Wind? No, not even wind shear, so I'm going to say that's all good. Alright, and we are coming really quickly onto our top of descent point here, so I'm going to go ahead and set 17,000, which is often our initial descent altitude here. And we are in VNAV mode, so that should start descending on its own momentarily here. I'm just going to have a look and see who's online. Still no Toronto Center. Only Toronto departures are online and Toronto ground, so we'll be self-vectoring onto final and call departure on final for the landing clearance. So be it. I'm frankly happy to have some ATC rather than no ATC, so you know, you take what you can get, right? Alright, I'm going to go ahead and get rid of this FMS because you guys don't need to see this anymore. So, one thing I did want to go back to here was when we were looking here, I'm just going to do this because it's easier. When we were looking at the performance data on here, so we go back to our menu, we did performance, and we did our landing data. So there's dispatch data, and then there's en route data. And what's the difference between show dispatch? So now we're looking at dispatch data versus en route data. So dispatch is exactly that. This is performance, landing performance data. So if we go show dispatch, so this is the dispatch data. This is landing performance data that you can actually use to dispatch your flight. So you have to be able to, you have to know that you can land safely at your destination with a certain amount of reasonable parameters, and be able to make that calculation before you leave. You don't even need to necessarily have the actual speeds. You just need to be able to make this calculation. And that's why here it's just giving you limit weights. So if you want to do a quick turnaround, you need 182,000 pounds or less, and you can do it in 67 minutes. The limit weight for this runway, however, would be 146,300 pounds with a VREF of 154. So if you're going to plan to land it higher than this, then you have a performance problem for landing on this runway with this configuration. So this is all for dispatching purposes. So your dispatcher will usually have done this because there's a regulatory requirement that you have to be able to land on that runway before you can even land, before you can even depart. So before you depart, you have to confirm that you can land. So your dispatcher in the dispatch office will have done this kind of calculation for you. The en route calculation is what's actually going to be what we're actually going to use. So this is what we're actually going to calculate today. This is our actual landing distance based on our actual physical conditions. So that previous one was just a dispatch condition. It was just to make sure that, yes, we can land on the runway. Here's the maximum weight if you want to land on that runway, which, as you can see, we're well under that 146,000 maximum, sitting at around 132,000. But yeah, I didn't even realize that was in here. So that's a pre-dispatch calculation and then an actual en route calculation for the actual landing data in there as well. And we started our descent into Toronto. It's probably going to be a little bit bumpy. We're just going to zoom this in a little bit because you're starting to see things. And we're going to call for the descent checklist.
Descent checklist. Pressurization. Landing altitude is 550 feet. Recall checked. Auto brake level 2. Landing data.
VREF 147.
Are you sure about that?
Barrow 796 feet.
VREF 147. Minimals 796 feet. Approach briefing.
Complete.
Descent checklist complete.
Alright. Descent checklist is done. We are getting there. There's Lake Erie coming up. I can see the Niagara River there. Going to pass right over Buffalo and on inbound into Toronto. I'm also going to have a quick look at my VATSIM because chances are Toronto's getting to be a busy place this afternoon, so we may need to keep an eye out for the traffic. It's not that busy. There are couple inbounds, but it doesn't look like anybody who's going to be arriving about the same time as us, so I'd say we're probably pretty safe at this point. But never guarantee, really. But anyways, yeah, so we'll see what we'll see. We are getting down there pretty quickly now. And another leg is just about ready to be done, which is great. I am, yeah, what can I say? I'm stoked. I'm excited. It's been a while to get all these legs done. But we are getting them done. We are getting these legs knocked out here. And yeah, so we'll be landing in about 25 minutes here, and then another leg will be done, and 2 more to go. So this one seemed to go, I don't know, maybe it was just me, but this one seemed to go really quite quickly. It was kind of nice that I did step away for a little bit in the middle there. Managed to keep my brain occupied elsewhere, but yeah, I just, this is going surprisingly quick, this leg. It feels like we just left not too long ago, and yet here we are already on our descent into the destination. It's not too bad out here. There's some mixed cloud. I don't think there's going to be too much convective activity. I could turn on the weather radar because I'm using the old version of Active Sky, and this should not break my airplane, regardless. The new updated version shouldn't either, but I'm just not going to test it on the stream, as I said before. That new updated version of the Active Sky beta, it should handle this issue with PMDG aircraft glitching out once the weather radar's up to 80 miles or more. What are we at here? We're at 80 miles anyways. But we're using the old version anyway, so it should not make any kind of an impact. So there we are. We're pretty much coming right over Buffalo here, which is kind of one of the big gateways into Toronto. From anybody arriving from the southeast, you generally arrive from over Buffalo and turn towards Toronto. So if you're filing an outbound from Toronto, please, for the love of God, don't file directly over Buffalo, because you'll be flying right up against all these arrivals. And that's, again, that goes back to what I was talking about earlier. The departures and arrivals at various airports are laid out in such a way, they're specific corridors, because that way the departures and the arrivals don't interfere with each other. You've got people descending, not in the same area that people are climbing. So if I can use Toronto as a great example, because it is a pretty good example of this, let's just do it this way. That is not our flight at all. That is not our flight at all. I was using all the charts on the FMS, so I guess I never loaded them to this point. Alright, so you can show off really quickly arrivals for Toronto. So here is the 5 arrival corridors, if you will, from the southeast. Can I just turn off my flight following here? From the southeast, and then also from the west, from the northwest, and from the northeast. There's 2 different parallel routes here. As you can see, the blue-green one and the red-yellow one. And now if I can show, if it's possible to show the departures, what you'll see is that the departures are just not quite in the same area. So let's see if I can do open charts, and then if I do a SID overview. And what you'll see is that, so here's our arrival route today, and as you can see, the SIDs avoid that. They go around that. They do eventually meet quite far out of the terminal airspace, 75 miles out, when mostly people are done climbing and descending. But the arrival corridors, you'll notice, are vacant of departures. So the arrival corridor, there was 1 corridor in here, there's 1 corridor in here, there's 1 corridor in here, and there was 1 corridor in here. So all those arrival corridors are where the departures are not. So they specifically keep them separate, so that you know, there's not too many conflicts. So this is why it's important to try and fly the RNAV SIDs, and even if you can't fly an RNAV SID, try to fly a route that corresponds to an RNAV SID. Even if you can't fly that, try to find waypoints, VORs, fixes along that route, and pick a couple of waypoints along that route to make sure you're not going to interfere with that traffic, because that's going to be the first thing that controllers are going to be honing in on, trying to figure out is, hey, are you going to conflict with my traffic? If you're going to conflict with my outbound traffic, we're going to have a problem here, and we're going to have to do a different route. But as long as you don't conflict with that traffic, if it's not the RNAV SID, VATSIM controllers are extremely understanding. They know that it's not. They know that. What am I trying to say here? They know that not everyone has an updated AirRack. Not everyone has up-to-date charts and everything on board, and that's fine. We can. They can totally deal with it. But they do need a little bit of cooperation. We do need to try and get everyone sort of in the same corridors, regardless of whether you're RNAV or just VOR to VOR. everyone who's moving in the same direction needs to be in more or less in the same corridors. That's the best way to avoid conflict. So, anyways, we are just passing. Where is it? The Niagara Falls, the St. Catharines Airport should be right there at our 12 o'clock. And if I recall correctly, Orbex recently, I think, updated their. It's right there. I thought it was one of the ones they added an update to their global freeware. Somebody.
Altimeters reset.
2990 set. Cross-check passing 17,500 now. I feel like it was Orbex that upgraded their freeware airports, and that airport is now supposed to have some fairly detailed scenery. So this right here is Niagara Falls. We are literally passing right over the falls right there. If you look out the window on this arrival, you pass pretty much right over the falls there. So this is the Canadian city of Niagara Falls, and then that's St. Catharines up there. You can just see Toronto across the lake there. Oh, we are almost there, guys. Any Toronto arrival pop online yet? Nope, still just departure. I'm coming departure, don't worry. I'll be ready for you when I turn final. I'll even show you right now. We'll tune in that frequency ahead of time. There we go. Alright, and our speed should start coming back shortly because we got a speed restriction of 250 knots at youth as we enter that terminal unit. Oh, we are almost home. Good times, good times. Endor, my departure controller, was not worried at all, he says in the comments. He knows that I'm a responsible pilot and that I will tune in the frequency at the right time. As long as you know it's me coming, that's the key. I think you've called me once before and said, hey, call me turning final. But I don't think you realized that it was me that was in the airplane. So, and that's the funny thing, is like certain call signs you recognize, but if people are just flying random real-world call signs, you may not always, controllers may not always recognize them until the person calls and they hear the voice and they recognize the voice. Then the things may pick up again. Alright, I'm going to just have one more quick look at my VATSIM window. And who else do we have arriving in Toronto? Nobody right now. Got a couple of departures up. We've got one person almost touching down. Nobody that's kind of coming in at the same time as us, so that should work out pretty well. We will have a tower controller to coordinate activities on the runway, but for the approach section, it shouldn't be too bad here. One thing about flying airplanes too is even when you do it for 20 years in the real world, you never get tired of looking out the window. You'll always notice something new. The whole world is in front of you. There's literally millions of people living their lives out there, and you'll always notice something interesting happening, whether it be some kind of a gathering with lots of people in a certain place. You know, you might notice a game. You might notice just something different you've never seen in somebody's backyard before when you get low enough. Something, you know, wrecked cars, or maybe somebody's got a bus in their backyard that they're trying to fix up. Who knows? People have strange hobbies and habits. And that's part of the reason why, like, flying never becomes old, because you'll never see everything when it comes to flying. Alright, we're just about to level off at 11,000. Once we pass Ling, we can resume our descent. And here comes the deceleration waypoint as well. And now you'll see slowly scrolling back. Our speed is slowly eking its way back to be 250 as we cross youth. Alright, I guess we could do it now. Approach checklist.
Altimeters.
2990 set.
2990 set. Approach checklist complete.
It's a relatively easy approach checklist, that's for sure. Alright, just going to do a double check on the ATIS, see if it's been updated at all. Still information uniform. There we go, 2165 for ground once we get down there, but first we got to talk to departure. Alright, since we're past Ling, we can go down to 8,000 now. Helps to be a controller here. I know exactly what altitudes I should go to at what point. A little bit hazy in this cloud layer here, but hopefully it'll clear up as we get a little lower, but it is a hot day again, so probably is going to be a humid kind of mucky day. You really start to appreciate this world that we have, I think, too, when you fly in it a lot more. You notice a lot of things that people on the ground miss, and you'll notice like the layer of pollution on the ground that we all are breathing in every day, and we do it without even thinking about it because that's just the world we live in. It's just polluted, but you don't really realize it until you get above it and you see that layer where the pollution stops at 8 or 10 or 12,000 feet, where that hazy pollution stops and clear skies above, and you see the difference, and you realize how dirty the sky can be sometimes. Flying gives you a certain appreciation for this world that we live in. You see it in a perspective that most people never really get to see it. And even in the sim, you don't get those awestruck moments, if you will, that you get when you're really actually flying. And you're seeing that real world out there. I remember there was another way you could tell how polluted the skies were. Checked. So he's going to get some lights on. He's going to cycle the belts on. One other way that one airplane in particular was really good at telling us how polluted the skies were. There was one of the traffic planes that was a 172 that we'd see it all the time. And it had this unmistakable yellow, in the summer, it had this unmistakable yellow hazy layer on the leading edge of the wings and the struts for the 172. And you could walk up to your finger and just rub it off with your finger. It was just such a fine yellow powder. But that was the pollution. That's what you get for flying less than 2,000 feet above the highways, especially flying up and down across in the urban areas across the highway. You'd get this buildup of I don't even know what it was. It was like sulfur or something, but it was just a yellow powder, and you'd see it build up on this 172 more than any other because this guy was pounding up and down the highways, flying just above the highways all the time. Checked. And we should be speed coming back to 210. It is. Alright, set of drag required because we're going to need to do 210. We're going to need the flaps. There's the flaps up speed. So, let's do this. Flaps 1.
Flaps 1.
That'll help create a little bit of extra drag. We do have traffic on, right? Yep, that's traffic on. Good. Now, I don't like what it's doing in terms of speed anymore. It should be that slow, so we're going to go ahead and say 210. So speed intervention 210. There's the 8,000. We can pretty much go down to 6,000 now. Getting a little bit turbulent out here. Alright, there's Toronto out there. Getting ready for a downwind turn, and boy, we are getting rocked around now a little bit, aren't we? Suppose I'm having a hard enough time trying to maintain a decent frame rate on this thing. Add some turbulence in there just to make it that much worse. Alright, one thing I'm going to do, my Sim Toolkit Pro has used up a lot of my processor power. I'm going to minimize that out of the way. That'll hopefully help a little tiny bit, keeping a little more power in the processor. Because I find that is a big hog of resources. And understandable, that movie map is pretty intense, so I'm not complaining about, with all the things it does, it's pretty much to be expected. There's downtown Toronto right there. Island Airport sitting there. Pretty quiet these days. Porter stopped flying altogether. Not much going on there these days. Supposedly they'll resume later this summer, but alright, there's Toronto over there. So what we'll do is we'll just go into level change mode now and try and hurry down as much as possible. Oh, is there a porter in Toronto right now? The simmers did not give up. Hold on, let's see if we can have a little... Nope, hold on, I need a different view. Maybe this one. Is that him at the threshold of the runway there, or is that no? The other thing you could do is there we go. He appears to be parked in the gate, according to my according to my perspective. Good times. Okay, we don't need to level off at 6. We need to keep going down to 4. There we go. And let's start going a little more. Flaps 5.
Flaps 5.
Just gonna get a little more drag hanging out there. Couldn't see the porter plane from this altitude, but alright, this should hopefully increase our rate of descent a little bit here. Maybe a little speed brake just to help us out. She's a plane that doesn't like to go down very fast. She does like to just keep on flying, I find. So a little speed brake sometimes really helps this airplane.
Flight deck. Okay, thanks. Captain, the cabin is secure.
Checked. Speed 190. That'll help us get down a little quicker as well. Alright. Checked. Alright, speed brake stowed. Start that base turn. I haven't made a traffic call yet, have I? Bad me. I look to make sure there's nobody out there, but we'll make a traffic call anyways. Heading s03e07. Toronto traffic, good afternoon. Transat 233 is turning a 12-mile left base for runway 24 right Toronto. There we go, there's altitude acquire. We're going to go down to 3,000 to join final. So level change before we build up too much power. Looks like there's some rain happening here. Found a little rain shower, we did. Let's get the speed back to 180 as well. And we're going to quickly cycle our FMS to be Ebdal. No, don't do that. Turbulence is not helping me at all here. Let's do it this way so we don't have to worry about the turbulence. Ebdal. Inbound course 237. Execute. There we go. And let's go ahead and do that turn. Heading 270. Arm the approach. Localizers there. Glide slopes on the full deflection up.
Altimeter alive. Cabin crew,
check.
take your seats.
Speed 170.
Checked.
Gear down. Flaps 15.
Gear down. Flaps 15.
She's still a heavy beast today. Taking a lot of power to keep this thing moving here. Alright. Any second now. That localizer should come to life. May have been just a tiny bit early on bringing the gear down there. Loke's alive. And glide slope's alive. Perfect, perfect.
Localizer alive.
Checked.
Glide slope alive.
Checked. Loke. Loke. VOR Loke. Swap com 1.
Roger.
Glide slope. Missed approach altitude set.
Roger, 1544, no pilot is available. Toronto Center is offline, radar service terminated. Monitor Unicom 122 decimal 8, good day. Over to Unicom, Route 1544, thanks for that. Good day.
And try to target afternoon. Transat 233 on the ILS 24 right with information uniform.
Transat 233, Toronto departure, hello, I told you I'm not worried. Wind 320 degrees, 17 knots, clear to land, 24 right.
Clear to land 24 right, Transat 233. Cleared.
Check.
Flaps 30.
Flaps 30.
Carry a little bit of extra, there's 152 anyways. Landing checklist.
Landing checklist. Engine start switches.
Continuous.
Speed brake.
Armed.
Landing gear.
Down.
Flaps.
Flaps 30, green light.
Landing checklist complete.
Checked. Now nothing left to do but land. Cleared. Landing.
Check. Final approach fix. Height checked. Missed approach altitude set.
Bit of a strong crosswind from the right there, about 17 knots. Just going to be a little bit of a workout, but shouldn't be too bad for us here. Stable. Autopilot coming out.
Check. Feet.
Check.
Stable.
Auto thrust is off.
Approaching minimums. Minimums.
Ground visible.
Landing.
Check.
Terrain.
That was terrible.
50, 40, 30, 20, 10.
Speed brake up. Reversers normal.
Checked.
.60 knots. Auto brake disarmed.
Checked.
Check.
Transat 233 right to enable ground on 121.6 past day.
Right turn off the runway and ground 2165, Transat 233, thanks, good day. Whoa, some strange inputs happening there.
Check.
Set 121.65 on COM 1.
Check. Set.
Toronto Ground, Transat 233 with you, Charlie 4, taxi for Terminal 3.
Air Transat 233, good afternoon, Toronto Ground. Terminal 3, taxi via Charlie 2. Correction, Charlie 4, then Delta Alpha Alpha Juliet, apron at discretion, cross 33 right.
Delta Alpha Alpha Juliet, clear to cross 33 right, Transat 233, thanks.
Check.
Okay to clean up.
Toronto Ground, Speedbird 184, requesting IFR clearance to London Heathrow. Speedbird 184,
that was
good
a very...
ground. Contact delivery at 121.
It was more of a challenging crossing than I thought, and for some reason the auto thrust really wanted to carry some speed on final, so I was trying to bleed off the speed a little bit, but it did not work out as well as I would have liked. So, not my best landing ever. Still managed to put it on the pavement, but definitely a sim technique still needs some work. This airplane is still a little bit of a handful for me. I find myself still struggling a little bit to get it done. Okay, so one thing we haven't done is we haven't picked a gate for arrival yet. So let's go ahead and get that done here. Just make sure he's got all the lights off. We don't need to turn off lights once we're on the ground. We really don't. Kill the weather radar, and we can try and find a gate for ourselves at Terminal 3. So it's going to be a Charlie gate for an international flight, so we'll say, I forget what we did last time. Charlie, we'll just say Charlie 27. We don't need to follow me, we'll be able to find it just fine, thank you. Alright, so... what am I doing here? I need to show menu chart clip.
Toronto delivery, Speedbird 184, requesting IFR clearance, London Heathrow. Speedbird 184, standby.
So Charlie 29 is going to be, or Charlie 27 is going to be almost in the corner, not quite.
Speedbird 184, you're clear to the standby.
Here goes an Air Canada plane that from here looks like it doesn't have gear, but it's probably just my perspective. No, I think it does have gear. Confirm cleared across 33 right.
Affirm. Cleared to cross.
Strobes on, please. Set strobes on.
Strobes coming on.
Okay, nobody departing or arriving 33 right. Good stuff.
184, you're clear to the Heathrow Airport via the Vito 6 departure, local transition, flight plan route, depart runway 24 right, squawk 6374.
For some reason, these runway threshold marks at this airport leave a very distinctive sound. You can hear the wheels of the airplanes rumbling over each one of them. Never noticed it at any of the real runway threshold, but I guess there's not too many places where you taxi across a lot of runway thresholds. Alright, so left turn on Alpha, which is the next turn here. There's the Speedbird.
3 minutes.
It is Victor 12165 for
Checked.
taxi, Speedbird 184.
Alright, so there's the 3 minutes on the engine, so now he is, we can shut them down, so there's that thermal limit. They want them to cool down for at least 3 minutes after working in flight, just to make sure that they're not just going shock cooling all the way to zero really quickly. So cool them down at idle for at least 3 minutes after landing. It really helps reduce the wear. If you shut them down really quickly after landing, the different parts cooling at different rates can cause damage to the inside of an engine. So we want to allow at least 3 minutes.
Air Canada 720 rolling up on runway 24 right.
There goes Air Canada 721. There's our Speedbird. And we're almost there.
Air Canada 420, what's your contact departure? 128.8.
Departure 128.8. Yep.
Power to get this plane going up the hill. She's still pretty heavy. She was full of people. Quite a lot of baggage. So taking quite a lot of effort just to get up the hill here. Not that there are hills in version 4, but hopefully in version 5 they'll start really adding some of these hills, because this airport is one where the hills are an interesting characteristic of the airport, and it really does affect your taxiing a lot. Like areas where you are going uphill, you do need a lot more power. Areas where you're going downhill, you're riding the brakes constantly, picking up a lot of speed going downhill. So it's uphill to about where you get to Alpha Juliet. Yeah, about to where you get to Alpha Juliet, maybe Alpha Kilo. That's where you start to kind of come over the top of the hill, and as you pass by Terminal 3, then it slows back down again to runway 23. So you end up picking up a lot of speed down on that straightaway. Back home, back in Toronto. Not exactly the best frame rate in the world, but that's okay. We're back home, and that's what really matters. And we got 2 more legs to do now of a pilot's life this season. Yeah, I don't know what it was, but maybe it was just me, but that flight seemed quick. Maybe I was away for longer than usual, but it really didn't seem like we were away for that long, and all of a sudden, before you knew it, we were setting up for our arrival. It really didn't take that long to reach that point. At least it didn't feel that to me anyways. Start the APU, please.
Starting APU.
Thank you. I'm out of things to say. I'm just, it's satisfying to be home, you know, it's satisfying to have done the job, done it well. Not the best landing in the world, but airplane wasn't damaged by it. Trouble is, this constant need to disconnect the auto thrust does not help me out, but I feel like it's ruined more landings than it's helped. And I don't know what it is. And if I can figure out what it is, I've tried to read about it, and I haven't been able to find any one thing that seems to nail it, but I have run into other people who've encountered similar problems, so there's obviously something going on. I don't know what it is, but so there's Charlie 27 up there in the corner, so we'll just keep coming this way. She really is, the frame rate is really suffering here at the end of a nice long flight with this airplane. Okay, so I don't think it's the one in which one is it? I can't really tell. Looking for Charlie 27. That's a 29. Lights and doors. Lights and doors.
Check.
Oh, I see my marshaller now, so it is this next one here. So that's Charlie 26 right in the very corner there. This is Charlie 27. You can see my marshal over there.
Cabin crew, disarm doors and cross-check. Doors disarmed. APU on the bus.
Checked. Yeah, not the best frame rate at this end of the flight. And it was doing so well in cruise, too. This city is just the detail level here. It's ridiculous sometimes. much too soon. And then the sign says stop, the GSX guy says come forward, so who do I listen to, right? I usually listen to GSX more just because that controls, if it doesn't think I'm in the spot enough, nothing else will work. Alright, so let's just look up and just double check. He did say the APUs are on the bus. Yep, generator's off, so we can go ahead and go. Shutdown procedure. Shutdown procedure. While he's doing his stuff, we'll call for the bridge. Shutdown checklist.
Stand by.
Alright. Shutdown checklist.
Shutdown checklist. Fuel pumps, off. Probe heat, off. Hydraulic panel, set. Flaps.
But I find he doesn't set this. He doesn't turn off the hydraulics. Set. Repeat last. Say again. Say again. Let's start again.
Okay.
Shutdown checklist.
Shutdown checklist. Fuel pumps, off. Probe heat, off. Hydraulic panel, set. Flaps.
Up.
Parking brake.
Set.
Engine start levers.
Cut off.
Weather radar.
Off.
Off. Shutdown checklist complete.
Alright. The bridge is here. Let's request a boarding. Alright, the bridge is here. We've requested deboarding. And the one thing we need to do as well is just go over here and cockpit to ground.
Go ahead.
Please connect external power.
Roger. Connecting the GPU.
And that's it. So there we go. There we have it. We are done. Here comes our vehicles to start off loading. We got a jet bridge in the back for some reason, even though we got it, or we got a air stair in the back, even though we got a jet bridge in the front. I don't know why. Oh well. These guys are going to start off loading for us. No, that's not right. Something's going on weird with these today.
Captain, the GPU is connected.
Checked. Alright, so we can go ahead and put the GPU on the bus, and then we can go ahead and turn off the APU. Anyways, there goes the guys unloading all the bags, and with that, we are done, guys. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you guys have enjoyed this today. That was a lot of fun. Not the best landing I've ever done by any means. This plane's a little bit slippery. It just takes a little bit to get used to. It doesn't help when you don't have the force feedback. I really, you know, I'm a real world pilot. I need that force feedback. Without feeling things happening in the airplane, it can be really challenging to try and handle a landing, especially when it's getting a little bit gusty and things are becoming a little bit less than ideal anyways. But nevertheless, that was still a lot of fun. I really enjoyed it. It seemed to go by really quick this time. The last leg dragged on. This one just was over before I knew it. But we are done again. Here's another leg. Let's see here. Minus 142 feet per minute. That's not a terrible landing rate there. It's not great, but it's not terrible. But we are getting slowly through our career. We got 117 experience points, and we got, I think, 2 flights done now on this leg. So the last thing we got left to do now for this schedule here is our Orlando turn. Orlando and back, and then we'll be done. Let's just have a little look-see at some of the stuff here in my career, just to see how things are shaping out. Obviously this month we have not done nearly as much flying as we did last month when we did the Schiphol turn, but we have done a fair bit of flying, so we're going to keep on doing it. We're definitely getting some time in the 737 here. Still, the Dash 8 dominates my timetable here, but I think that's gonna shrink now quite substantially over time. So,
aircraft at Punta Cana and delivery is now back.
anyways, thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this, and we will see you all really soon. Stay safe out there, guys, and we'll catch you on the next stream.